The first article I wanted to talk about is titled Johnny Enlow Says Trump is Recognized from Heaven as the Primary Government Leader of Planet Earth. Now, I've actually covered this article once before, but I wanted to give you guys a reminder about it before going into the next article I wanted to talk about, which is Johnny Enlow claims Trump is on assignment from God to take down George Soros, Bill Gates, and others. Last week, we talked about a pastor named Rick Wiles, who is obsessed with the idea that Jewish people are controlling the world. They're controlling the governments and the money and the banks and the fucking everything. And this kind of popped out to me, this story about Johnny Enlow, because it's like this guy is going down the exact same rabbit hole as Rick Wiles. And it's not just those two. They're all going down this rabbit hole about Zionists and Jews, controlling the money, like George Soros controlling everybody and everything. It's absolutely nuts. So I figured what we'd do is we would start with the first article to give you guys a reminder of Johnny Enlow and what he's been saying over the past 6 months or so, particularly about Trump and how he views himself. And then we'll get into the second article, which is about his views on Jews, which are less than flattering. So let's read the article and see what it says. It's written by Kyle Mantilla on Right Wing Watch. QAnon conspiracy theorist Johnny Enlow appeared on the Elijah Streams YouTube channel Friday, where he declared that Donald Trump is recognized from heaven as a legitimate president of the United States and that God is actively working to make it a reality here on Earth. This video released on January 27th, or the article about the video released on January 27th. So this was after the inauguration. And this guy is still obsessed with the idea that Trump is supposed to be the president, January 27th. But it gets even worse than that, because here we are at the end of April, beginning of May, and he's still fucking talking about this. Seriously. This guy does not like to admit when he's wrong. So let's watch this clip of Johnny Enlow. Like I said, this is from around January 27th. And see what he had to say at the time.
And so there's all these dimensions the Lord is coming to affect and change right now. And President Trump still has a very active, viable role in that, and he will still step in on the playing field itself. He's even under the playing field. Believe me, God is doing things with him, and I won't go into it more than that, but he's not a path.
Oh, please, dude. This guy is sitting here pretending that he knows some special information, some secret nugget that nobody else knows. I won't go into it more than that.
And I won't go into it more than that.
Give me a fucking break. This is ridiculous. And this isn't the first or the last time this guy pulled this stunt.
And he's not a passive player. He is recognized from heaven. He is recognized as the primary government leader on planet Earth.
Planet Earth, not just the United States, but all of planet Earth. Give me a break. When is this guy going to enter reality and exit delusion land? No joke.
People need to know that. From heaven, President Trump is recognized as the primary government leader on planet Earth.
How does he wake up and look himself in the mirror every day after saying shit like this?
President Trump will serve above board as well. He will serve above board, and God is going to do this, and it's going to be fairly quick what he does.
Okay, now let me just point out what he's doing here. He says he's going to serve above board as well. He's saying that at this point, around January 27th, because he had to come to the realization that Trump was not inaugurated as the president on January 20th, like he claimed he would be. So now he has to say, well, there will come a time when Trump serves above board and not just as president in secret. Because this guy's explanation for why Trump wasn't inaugurated on January 20th as the next president is because he really was secretly inaugurated. And Biden is just this figurehead that supposedly looks like he's pulling the levers, but really Trump is the guy pulling the levers in the background. So by saying he's going to serve above board like that, he's claiming that Trump is going to be the president again publicly and not just in private. Why does he dig himself these holes? He didn't have to do that. He could have just said, he could have just said what he said originally about Trump and just said he's serving in the background. He's continuing to dig himself holes. Robin Bullock had one of the more clever cover-ups for his little fuck-up by claiming that Trump would be president again. I thought his cover-up was pretty convenient. Trump has the option to go into the White House, and God will supernaturally push things out of the way to let him take control again. But he has to want it, and Trump doesn't want it. That's the problem. That was Robin Bullock's explanation. And here we are, Johnny Enlow, refusing to give up, saying Trump is going to be the president again no matter what, and we're just going to have to wait and see. It's an embarrassment. Let's keep listening.
And God is going to do this, and it's going to be fairly quick what he does. But this is something he did speak to me earlier. He didn't give me dates. He never gave me a date on anything, just that he would win.
Why does he keep digging a hole for himself? Seriously.
Here's the deal. I don't call myself prophet. I don't put it on my website. I don't announce myself as Prophet Johnny. A lot of people do.
If he didn't believe that he was a prophet, then he would correct them. I've covered this video before. I just wanted to cover it again so that we had a little bit of lead up before we continue on to the next article. But when I covered this before, I said the same thing I'm going to say now. People call me a cult expert, and I don't just let it slide. I correct them. I am not an expert in the field. I am a communicator at best. If this guy really didn't believe that he was a prophet, he would correct them. He wouldn't let them sit there and think that he was a prophet. But he wants people to think that. And later in this clip, I actually pulled this part out because it isn't super relevant to what we're talking about. Later on in the clip, he tries to justify calling himself a prophet. He tries to tell us, I've told the leaders of these countries that they were going to discover salt mines in their countries, and lo and behold, they found these salt mines. I'm not saying I'm a prophet, but if people call me a prophet, then, I guess I'm a prophet. It's ridiculous. It's completely fucking shameless.
I announced myself as Prophet Johnny. A lot of people do. In fact, that's how I'm announced most. And when I'm contacted, when I'm called, when government leaders contact me, that's what they call me.
I looked into it, and as far as I can tell, U.S. government leaders don't really communicate with this guy very much, except for some members of the Republican Party. Big fucking surprise. What he's talking about here is mostly foreign government leaders, like the leaders of Peru or the leaders of like Venezuela or whatever else, because they genuinely do believe that he's like a prophet. Some of these people do. And they think that he can divine where mines are, where silver mines or salt mines are or whatever. It's fucking ridiculous, man.
And if you receive me as a prophet, I'm a prophet. If you don't, I'm not. If a prophet to you means, do I get everything 100% correct, including timing, nuance, everything, every detail? Absolutely not.
That's what a fucking prophet is, isn't it? What use is being a prophet if you can't tell us useful information that somebody couldn't just come along and guess in the first place? How do we know that you're a prophet unless the information you're conveying is very specific and nuanced with exact times and dates, and you say it before anything happens, and then we watch it take place and unfold before our eyes in exactly the way you described? How do we know? How do we know you're a prophet if that's not how you operate? Dude is completely full of shit.
So if that's your criteria,
it is my criteria.
Am I a prophet? Then I'm not. So if I'm not, and I'm telling you, I go with that for you. Then you can't stone me either, because I'm not a false prophet.
No, that's a convenient way of getting out of it, isn't it? You can't stone me. That was the punishment in the Old Testament, wasn't it? Stoning somebody if they were a false prophet, or if they were a witch, or, whatever. I think it's really interesting that he stuck that little bit in there. You can't stone me. This coming from a guy who genuinely believes that the United States government should operate under the Old Testament laws. Seven Mountains Dominionism is what he is. He's a Seven Mountains Dominionist. It's a new level of Christian extremist. He believes that the United States government should be the Old Testament laws. And he believes that God is going to bring it to a point where it will become like the Old Testament laws. He thinks that Christians are going to take over the U.S. government and it's going to be a big thing. And he believed that Trump was going to be the catalyst that made that take place. The fact that Trump is no longer in the picture, like he's not the president this year, that completely blows his theories to pieces. That's why he needs him to be. Anyways, that brings us to our next article about this guy. This one is again on Right Wing Watch, and it's titled, Johnny Enlow Claims Trump is on Assignment from God to Take Down George Soros, Bill Gates, and Others. This is by Kyle Mantilla on rightwingwatch.org, so let's give it a read and see what it says. QAnon conspiracy theorist and supposed prophet Johnny Enlow appeared on the Elijah Streams YouTube channel Monday, where he claims that former President Donald Trump is working with angels, specifically the archangels Gabriel and Michael, to take down Bill Gates, George Soros, and other powerful figures who supposedly control the world. Let's give the clip a watch and see what he said.
What's so interesting is the word Rothschild means redcoat in Yiddish.
Really?
Okay, bear with me here. I don't know that that's a fact. That could be a completely false fact. I tend to doubt basically everything that comes out of this guy's mouth, so don't buy it by default. Let's continue.
Yeah. And they intentionally went after the big cities, Frankfurt, Vienna, Paris, London. There's one of the 5 main cities of Europe, and that's how they took, and they established banks. They established central banks, and that's how they took control.
Oh, this is the old Rothschild, like Jewish conspiracy theory where the Jews controlled all the money and all that other shit. I could be wrong here, and if I am, correct me in the comments and I'll pin it to the top. But the United States has always largely been controlled by Christian denominations. And in Catholicism, I believe, it's immoral, according to the Bible, or there was a time when they believed that it was immoral to charge interest to another fellow Christian. So they would bring Jewish people in to manage the banks, to create loans for people, loan people money and things like that, because it would be on Jewish people's heads. They would be the ones burning in hell rather than the Catholic bank managers, right? It was a product of discrimination. They would bring these people in to manage the money and the lending because they didn't want to burn in hell. They didn't give a shit if the Jewish people burned in hell. That is why there's an idea that Jewish people are associated with money like that. Let's listen to what he said again with that added context.
And that's how they took, and they established banks. They established central banks, and that's how they took control of nations.
He's acting like it's some kind of a giant conspiracy theory. It's absolutely ridiculous.
And so while people are looking at who's in Biden's seat, the traditional presidential seat, and like, well, how can you say Trump's doing something when he's not there? Believe me, that is not the power position, particularly the way it is right now in the nation.
Oh, I love it. This guy's having to eat crow now, basically. He sat here with a straight fucking face and told us that Trump was going to be reelected as president. And here we are. No President Trump. We have a President Biden. How does he explain that away? Now he's trying to downplay the importance of the president? Give me a fucking break.
Particularly the way it is right now in the nation. President Trump is on assignment, and he's anointed by God, and the archangels are working with him. I'll tell you, Michael is working with him. It's not that he's serving.
Oh, he has a new role. Okay, Trump has a new role to play in the government. This guy's completely fucking shameless. It's really entertaining to watch. But notice there he mentioned the archangel Michael, and in a second he mentions Gabriel, I think.
Trump's the other way around, and Zerachiel and Gabriel.
There you go. He mentioned Zerachiel and Gabriel and Michael. Jehovah's Witnesses are different from other Christian denominations in the fact that they believe that Michael the archangel, as mentioned in the Bible, is actually Jesus. And I didn't really think it was that big of a deal. Like, who gives a shit? What would lead you to that conclusion in the first place, first of all? And why does anybody care? But it turns out this is actually a hot point of debate in Old Testament research, scholarly research. Michael the archangel is not Jesus. Jehovah's Witnesses are the only people who believe that. And Old Testament scholars have debated them pretty hard. In fact, you can find videos of it on YouTube. Maybe I'll pull one up and stick it in the clip at some point. It's really fascinating. You guys should check that out.
But they are going after what is being contended for and just about done is these seats that we're talking about, like where the Soros and the Gates and the Rothschilds, those seats that really control and affect world dynamics. Those things are being taken care of behind the scenes, and it would have been harder for President Trump to do so, staying seated in the other seat.
Yeah. This is an embarrassment, man. So we moved from Trump is absolutely most definitely going to be reelected as president to Biden isn't going to be inaugurated. It will be Trump who is inaugurated to, well, Trump was actually inaugurated just secretly. And now we've moved to Trump doesn't need to be president. He's doing more important shit. You got to be kidding me. At what point does this guy have to accept reality? Seriously, at what point does he have to accept that he's completely full of shit and he was from the very beginning, and he just has to come to terms with that and admit it? Just admit when you're fucking wrong. Will this guy ever admit that he was wrong?